Some humiliations don't happen behind closed doors. They happen under the bright lights of a crowded cafe, with strangers watching, phones buzzing, and your dignity shattered on the floor. I was standing in line, clutching my notebook, when my boss, Mr. Keene, barged in. His voice was loud enough for the whole place to hear. "You're worthless, Athena. I don't know why I ever hired you." People stared. A barista froze mid-pour. My cheeks burned hotter than the coffee machine. I wanted the ground to swallow me whole. I whispered, "Please, not here." But he only laughed, turned to the crowd and said, "See? This is what failure looks like." That's when a man at the corner table lowered his newspaper, eyes narrowing. I didn't know it then, but he wasn't just anyone. He was a CEO. I walked out of that coffee shop shaking so badly I could barely hold my notebook. The whispers followed me like shadows. Some people pitied me, others smirked, a few filmed it. My boss's words echoed in my head. Worthless. Failure. That night, I sat in my tiny studio apartment, staring at the ceiling. Rent was due in 5 days. My fridge held a half-empty milk carton and a bag of rice. My job wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills, until humiliation became my daily routine. Mr. Keene thrived on breaking me down. In meetings he cut me off. In emails, he copied everyone just to underline my mistakes. But this, screaming at me in public, that broke something inside. I pressed my palms to my eyes, fighting tears. Maybe he's right. Maybe I am worthless. But then a small flicker of memory returned. The man in the coffee shop. Sharp suit, silver cufflinks, calm but piercing eyes. He had looked at me, not with pity, but with recognition. Like he'd seen this before. Like he'd seen me. Still, the fear outweighed curiosity. I stayed home the next morning, unable to face the office. My phone buzzed endlessly. Messages from coworkers. Some supportive, some cruel. One read, "Athena, he went too far. But be careful, he's out for blood." Blood. The word chilled me. Keene wasn't finished. By evening I dragged myself to the office. My desk plant had been tossed in the trash. A sticky note on my monitor read, "Shape up or ship out." I sank into the chair, rage battling despair. And then, an email popped up. Unknown sender. Subject line, "Coffee shop." Click. "Athena, my name is Victor Lang. I was there. Meet me tomorrow. 9 a.m. Same cafe. Trust me." The next morning I barely slept. My alarm rang at 7 a.m., but I'd already been staring at the ceiling for hours, replaying that scene in my mind. My boss towering over me in the cafe, strangers whispering, my face burning as he called me worthless. And now this email. Victor Lang. Who was he? Why would a stranger reach out? I almost deleted it, convinced it was some cruel prank. But the memory of those eyes, sharp, deliberate, cutting through the noise of the cafe, wouldn't let me. At 8:45 I forced myself out the door, notebook in hand. The same cafe loomed ahead like the stage of my worst nightmare. My chest tightened as I stepped inside. The air smelled of roasted beans and vanilla syrup. The same hum of conversation, the same clink of mugs. And there he was. Corner table. Dark navy suit. Newspaper folded neatly beside a laptop. He looked up as though he'd been waiting just for me. "Athena." He said my name like he'd known it all along. I hesitated. You're Victor Lang." He smiled faintly. "Please sit." My palms were sweaty as I slid into the chair. He studied me with a calm intensity that made me feel both seen and exposed. "You looked surprised when I emailed," he said, sipping his coffee. I let out a shaky laugh. "You could say that. Why would a stranger want to meet me?" He leaned forward. "Because what I saw yesterday wasn't just unprofessional. It was abuse. And abuse, when ignored, becomes power." His words landed heavy. My throat tightened. Mr. Keene, he's always like that. I try to stay invisible, do my work, but he finds a way to break me. Victor's eyes narrowed. "And why do you stay?" Question cut. I fumbled for an answer. "Rent." My brother's medical bills. Fear. But all I said was, because leaving feels like losing. And I can't afford to lose. For a moment, silence hung between us. Then Victor tapped the table gently. I wasn't just any stranger in that cafe, Athena. I'm the CEO of Lang & Company. Blinked. The name was familiar. A multinational firm. Articles about their bold strategies were always circulating in business magazines. He was that Victor Lang. My mouth went dry. Why would someone like you care about someone like me? His expression softened, though his voice stayed steady. Because 6 years ago I was you. Frowned, confused. He continued. Fresh out of school, broke, desperate. I had a boss who thrived on humiliation. He told me I'd never succeed. Fired me in front of an entire team. I wanted to disappear. But that day taught me something. You don't fight cruelty by shrinking. You fight it by outgrowing it. My heart pounded. His words dug under my skin. He reached into his briefcase, pulled out a sleek card and slid it across the table. Athena Ward, strategy consultant, Lang & Company. I stared at it, stunned. Is this a job offer? Victor's smile widened. It's an invitation. 6 months. Learn from my team. Show me you have the fire I saw in your eyes yesterday. And when it's over, you'll never let anyone call you worthless again. I nearly dropped the card. I don't know what to say. He leaned back. Say yes. And prove your boss wrong. But fear not at me. If Keen finds out, he'll destroy me. Victor's eyes hardened. Let him try. The only thing he can destroy is the part of you still believing you're beneath him. My eyes stung. Tears threatened, but I blinked them back. 6 months. A chance to learn, to grow, to escape the suffocating shadow of Keen. I clutched the card. Okay, yes. I'll do it. Victor nodded, satisfied. Good. Then be ready. Because this won't be easy. The ones who humiliate us usually leave scars. But sometimes, scars are where the strongest armor grows. As I walked out of the cafe, the card burning in my palm, the world seemed different. Lighter. But then my phone buzzed. A new email from Mr. Keen. Subject line. My office. Now. My stomach dropped. He knew. The subject line glared at me. My office. Now. I froze in the cafe doorway. Victor's card burning in my palm. How did he know? Had someone seen me? My heart pounded so hard it echoed in my ears. By the time I reached the office, Keen was already pacing in front of his glass-walled office like a predator. His face was red, lips curled in a sneer. Sit, he barked. I sank into the chair, clutching my notebook to stop my hands from trembling. He leaned on the desk, eyes gleaming with something between fury and triumph. So, coffee meetings now? With strangers? Do you think I don't have eyes everywhere, Athena? My throat went dry. Eyes everywhere. Did someone in that cafe report to him? I don't know what you're talking about, I managed. He slammed his fist on the desk, making me jump. Don't play stupid. You embarrassed me yesterday. Do you understand what that means for my reputation? My clients saw the video, Athena. The video. You're trending. Not as some sad victim, but as proof that my team is weak. And weakness, in my world, is death. My blood went cold. So people had filmed it. My humiliation wasn't just in that cafe. It was online. Keen paced, his voice dripping venom. You think you can crawl out of this company and run into someone else's arms? Well, you're tied to me. Your mistakes are mine, and I'll make sure the world knows it. You'll never work again, not in this city, not in this industry. My chest tightened, fear clawing at me. But beneath the fear, something else flickered, anger. I remembered Victor's words. The only thing he can destroy is the part of you still believing you're beneath him. I lifted my chin. You can shout all you want, Mr. Keen, but you don't own me. His eyes widened. He wasn't used to defiance. He leaned closer, whispering like a viper. Oh, I don't own you. Then explain this. He slid a folder across the desk. Inside were printed screenshots. My resume, my application emails, notes about my brother's medical bills. Gasp. You've been digging into my personal life? He smirked. Of course. That's what leverage looks like. You think you can run to someone else and they'll save you. No one wants baggage, Athena. And you're nothing but baggage. Tears stung my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Why are you doing this? I whispered. He leaned back, smiling coldly. Because if I let one person walk away from me, everyone else thinks they can too. And I don't lose. Not ever. At that moment the office door opened. Sarah, one of my co-workers, peeked in nervously. Mr. Keene, the conference call is ready. He snapped. Get out. But before she left, her eyes met mine. She looked horrified. She'd seen the folder, heard his tone. Something passed between us. A silent message. You're not crazy. Yes. As soon as she was gone, Keene straightened his tie. Now, Athena. You're going to draft an email to the entire department apologizing for your incompetence. You'll write exactly what I dictate. You'll say you're lucky to have a job, that you owe your position to me. Do that and maybe, I'll let this die quietly. My heart pounded. If I obeyed, I'd confirm his story. If I refused, he'd crush me with those files, with the humiliation already viral online. I swallowed hard. And if I don't? His smile widened. Then I'll ruin you so thoroughly, Victor Lang himself couldn't put you back together. Hearing Victor's name on his lips made my blood run cold. He knew. I stumbled out of his office after, clutching my notebook so tightly it bent in half. The rest of the day blurred. Whispers, stares, co-workers avoiding me. By the time I reached home, my head was spinning. On my desk sat Victor's card. His words replayed in my mind. Scars are where the strongest armor grows. That night I made my decision. I wouldn't send Keene's email. I wouldn't let him own me. Instead, I opened my laptop and typed a different email. To Victor Lang. I'm in. Tell me where to start. I hit send, heart racing. Minutes later, his reply came. Be ready tomorrow, 8 a.m. We'll talk about your future. And Athena. Don't let him scare you. He's already lost. For the first time in months, I smiled through the tears. But I also knew. Keene wasn't going to sit back. He would strike harder, louder, and more dangerous than ever. The next morning I woke before dawn. My body buzzed with a mix of terror and excitement. I kept staring at Victor's email. Be ready tomorrow, 8 a.m. We'll talk about your future. Future. A word that no longer felt like a locked door. At 7:50 a.m., I stood in the marble lobby of Lang & Company. My thrift store blazer felt embarrassingly out of place against the sea of sharp suits. The receptionist greeted me warmly, but my knees shook as I stepped into the elevator. The 20th floor opened into a different world. Glass walls, the smell of fresh coffee, screens glowing with charts. People walked with purpose. Felt alive, electric. And then Victor appeared. Athena. Right on time, he said, smiling. Follow me. He led me into a boardroom overlooking the city skyline. My breath caught. The view stretched for miles. For once, I felt above the world instead of beneath it. Victor introduced me to his team. Clara from finance, Daniel from strategy, Priya from operations. They didn't look down on me. They shook my hand, asked about my ideas, treated me like I belonged. Victor leaned on the table. Here's the truth, Athena. I didn't bring you here for sympathy. I brought you here because you have something most people lose in this industry. Hunger. My team will train you. In 6 months, you'll be sharper than any insult Keene could throw. For the first time in ages, I felt hope instead of fear. The days that followed were grueling. I learned financial modeling from Clara, sitting at her desk until midnight, my eyes burning from spreadsheets. Daniel drilled me in presentations, forcing me to pitch until my voice cracked. Priya taught me negotiation tactics, role-playing difficult clients until I finally snapped back with confidence. Every day I pushed harder. Every night I went home exhausted but alive. But just as I started to feel stronger, Keen struck. One Friday morning, Daniel handed me his phone, his face pale. "Athena, you should see this." It was a LinkedIn post. Keen's post. Some employees are simply unteachable. No matter how much you invest, they fail. And sometimes they even run to competitors, hoping to leech off other success. Pathetic. Beneath the post were comments. People nodding, agreeing. And though he never named me, everyone knew. The cafe video had already gone viral. Now he was painting me as a traitor. My chest clenched. I wanted to crawl into a hole. But Victor's voice cut through. "Athena, look at me." I looked up. His eyes were steady. "Do you know why he's doing this?" I shook my head. "Because you're not beneath him anymore. You're a threat. Weak people humiliate in public. Strong people don't need to." He knows he's losing control. His words steadied me. For the first time, I saw Keen's cruelty for what it was. Fear disguised as power. That afternoon, Clara nudged me. "Why not answer back? Not with anger. With proof." Daniel grinned. "Yes. Show the world who you're becoming." With trembling hands, I wrote a post of my own. 6 months ago, I was humiliated in a cafe by a boss who told me I was worthless. Today, I stand with mentors who remind me that worth isn't given. It's built. To anyone doubting themselves, scars don't define you. What you do next does. I hesitated before hitting post. Then I clicked. By evening, the likes poured in. Hundreds. Comments from strangers. "This hit home. Thank you for sharing. You're stronger than you know." I felt tears blur my vision. For once, my voice wasn't silenced. But Keen wasn't finished. That night my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Athena, you think you can outshine me? Remember, I can end you whenever I want. Watch your step." My hands shook as I read it. He wasn't just smearing me publicly. He was threatening me privately. Yet for the first time I didn't feel crushed. I looked at Victor's card on my desk, at the supportive comments flooding my post, at the notebook full of lessons from Clara, Daniel and Priya. I whispered to myself, "You can't end me. Not anymore." Because I wasn't the girl in the cafe anymore. I was becoming something stronger. 6 months passed in a blur of late nights, early mornings, and lessons that tested every ounce of me. At Lang and Company, I wasn't the girl humiliated in a cafe. I was Athena. Strategist, problem solver, fighter. The first time Victor asked me to present in front of clients, my knees nearly buckled. But I remembered Daniel's drills, Clara's calm explanations, Priya's fiery debates. I stood tall, voice steady, walking them through numbers that once terrified me. When the clients nodded, impressed, my heart soared. After the meeting, Victor leaned close. "See? That's not worthless. That's power." For the first time I believed him. But Keen hadn't forgotten me. One afternoon, Clara rushed into my office, phone in hand. "Athena, look." On the screen was a press release from Keen's firm. Bold headline. Lang and Company. Poaches disgraced employee caught in fraud scandal. My stomach twisted. Below the headline was my picture, taken from that cursed cafe video. Keen's team accused me of stealing company files, leaking client data, and fleeing to Victor for cover. It was a complete lie. But lies, when loud enough, echo. The article spread fast. By evening, my inbox was flooded with questions, doubts, and even insults from strangers. My LinkedIn post about strength was now buried under comments calling me a fraud, a thief, a fake. I wanted to throw up. I wanted to crawl back into bed and hide. Victor walked into my office, the article pulled up on his phone. For the first time, his face was grim. "He's playing dirty. Harder than I expected." "Victor, what if people believe him?" I whispered. "What if this ruins not just me, but your firm?" He set his phone down and looked me dead in the eyes. "Athena, listen to me. Truth doesn't always scream the loudest at first. But when it's real, it endures. And Keen just made the biggest mistake of his career. He frowned. What do you mean? Victor's smile returned, cold and sharp. He left a trail. You don't launch an attack that bold without leaving footprints. And we're going to find them. That night I stayed in the office with Clara and Marcus, combing through contracts, emails and archives. And then we found it. A signature mismatch on one of Keen's most important client deals. A forged document, the same style we'd seen before when I first discovered his fraud. It was proof. Not only was his press release false, but it also exposed his own corruption. Victor placed the file gently on the table like a sword. Tomorrow, you're going to take this with you. There's a conference. Industry leaders, press, investors. Keen will be there. He's expecting to humiliate you again. But instead, he leaned in, his voice low. You'll bury him. My chest tightened. The thought of facing Keen again made my stomach churn. But this time I wasn't alone. I had a team, proof, and a voice I refused to silence. The next day, the conference hall buzzed with suits and flashes of cameras. I spotted Keen across the room, shaking hands, smiling like the king of the world. When his eyes landed on me, his grin widened cruelly. He stepped up to the podium first, voice booming. We live in an industry of integrity. And yet some people, he gestured toward me, making sure the cameras followed, think they can cheat their way to success. The audience turned to look at me. The humiliation burned again, just like in that cafe. But then I remembered Victor's words. Truth endures. When it was my turn, I walked to the stage, hands steady despite the storm inside. I connected my laptop, the forged contract glowing on the giant screen. Mr. Keen speaks of integrity. Yet here is his signature and here is the real one. Notice the difference. This contract worth millions is a forgery. And the man accusing me is the one who forged it. Gasps rippled through the room. Cameras clicked wildly. Keen's face drained of color. I raised my voice. 6 months ago, he called me worthless in a cafe. Today, I stand with proof that his empire is built on lies. The room erupted. Investors whispered furiously, reporters scribbled notes. Flashes blinded Keen where he stood frozen. For once, I didn't feel like prey. Felt like the storm. But even as the crowd turned against him, I knew Keen wasn't finished. He would fight back with everything he had left. The conference descended into chaos. Reporters swarmed the stage, investors shouted, cameras flashed like lightning. And in the middle of it all, Keen stood stiff, his jaw clenched, eyes darting like a cornered animal. He grabbed the microphone back from me, his voice rising, desperate. This is slander. A disgruntled employee, stealing confidential files, twisting them to smear me. You think she uncovered fraud? Well, she is the fraud. The crowd murmured, torn between his fury and my proof on the giant screen. Victor rose from the front row, calm as ever. Then explain, Mr. Keen, why the compliance office already has these documents. Why they've already confirmed the forgery. The cameras whipped toward him. Keen's face drained of color. You what? Victor stepped closer to the stage. You were sloppy, Keen. Too eager to destroy Athena that you forgot the truth leaves trails. We followed them. And now, he gestured to me. So has everyone else. For the first time, Keen stammered. He wiped sweat from his brow, eyes wild. Then his mask cracked completely. You think this is enough to take me down? I own this industry. I'll bury you both in lawsuits so deep you'll never see the light of day. The threat echoed through the hall, ugly and raw. The reporters pounced, microphones shoved in his face. His words weren't strength, they were confession. Security moved in, whispering into earpieces. 2 men in dark suits approached. One of them showed a badge. Mr. Keen, you're coming with us. The room erupted again. Some clapped, others shouted questions, but I stood frozen, watching as the man who had tormented me was led away in handcuffs. His eyes locked on mine one last time, full of venom. "This isn't over, Athena." But it was. The conference ended in a storm of headlines. CEO accused of fraud. Former employee exposes industry giant. Athena Ward from humiliation to hero. By evening my name was trending, but this time not as a failure. As a fighter. Back at Lang & Company, Victor called me into his office. He poured 2 glasses of water, not champagne, and slid one across the desk. "You did today, Athena. You faced him in the same way he tried to break you, publicly. And you didn't just survive. You turned it into power." I sat, exhausted, tears finally spilling. I thought I'd never crawl out of that cafe moment. Thought he was right. That I was worthless. Victor shook his head. "Worthless people don't risk everything to speak the truth. Worthless people don't stand tall when the world calls them liars. You're not worthless, Athena. You're unstoppable." His words broke something inside me. The last remnants of Keen's hold. For the first time in months, maybe years, I believed I wasn't the weak one. He was. The weeks that followed felt surreal. Compliance launched a full investigation into Keen's company. Investors pulled out. His empire crumbled piece by piece. Meanwhile, Victor gave me more responsibility. Strategy meetings, client pitches, training new hires. Every step terrified me, and every step I took proved I could. One afternoon, as I prepared a presentation, Victor knocked on my door. "Athena, do you know why I chose you?" I frowned. "Because you felt sorry for me?" He shook his head, smiling. "No. Because in that cafe, I saw someone stand there and absorb cruelty, but not collapse. Most people would have screamed or run or fought back badly. But you endured. You held yourself together even when he tried to rip you apart. That kind of strength. You can't teach it. You can only sharpen it." I swallowed hard. His faith in me still felt unreal. "So what now?" I asked. Victor leaned on the doorframe. Now you lead." And in that moment, I realized my story wasn't just about revenge. It wasn't just about surviving Keen. It was about proving, to myself most of all, that his words had never defined me. 6 months ago, I was humiliated in a cafe, called worthless in front of strangers. 6 months later, I was standing at the head of a boardroom table, leading a team that believed in me. 6 months later, I wasn't worthless. I was Athena. Sometimes the people who call you worthless are only revealing their own fear. Scars don't mean weakness. They're proof of survival. If my story resonated, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that show just how far strength can take us.